Dear lovely fans of Monkeys and Playbills, welcome to the podcast that Mandy Patinkin is sure not going to want you to hear. It's Monkeys and Playbills, y'all.
I think he'd want to hear it. I think he'd want to hear it.
And that is Peter freaking Fernandes, and we're so excited to have you on the pod this week.
I am excited and scared to be here.
Same.
Peter Fernandes is just a force of nature in Canadian theatre. Appearances all over TV, all over some of the coolest theaters in the country. A few seasons at the Shaw Festival recently.
Yes.
Jill and I... Here, you know what? Here, before we do this, let's just go really quick. This is Monkeys and Playbills, a show where we talk about musicals that ran for 100 performances or fewer on Broadway.
And what the heck happened?
I'm Paul DeGurse.
I'm Jillian Willems.
And I'm Peter Fernandes. And I'm here as well.
Yes, you are. We all met working on Charlie Brown at MTYP. Charlie Brown Christmas back in the day.
Yeah. Well, not just Charlie Brown Christmas, a little too.
It was.
It was
You're
a combination.
right.
All right?
Yeah.
You're a Good Man Charlie Brown and Charlie Brown Christmas. Look at this. I'm already coming in with the facts. With the fun facts.
Facts left,
And
facts
boy,
right.
is You're a Good Man Charlie Brown going to pop up in our talk about this? See?
I was just going to say, two shows of similar complexity, of similar
Yes.
depth,
Exactly
of similar musical
the same.
complexity, tackle similar themes of
How you're a good
racism in 1920s
how
vaudeville.
You're a Good Man Charlie Brown tackles racism is pretty much on par with the Wild Party.
I love to
as
see
far
a
as
thesis
sensitivity
on this.
and Jesus.
Shoot.
Today we're talking about the Wild Party.
Lippa's Wild
Which
Party.
one?
We're not talking about Andrew Lippa's Wild Party, although to be honest, we probably will do a fair amount of talking about Lippa's Wild Party.
Yes.
We're talking about the Wild Party that appeared on Broadway in the 2000 theater season. That was written by Michael John LaChiusa with book and direction by George C. Wolfe.
Yes.
Bingo.
Yes, correct.
Nailed it. Good for you.
Yes. All right. We're off to a strong start. Okay, let's get into this friggin' show because there's some stuff to talk about.
Oh boy, is there.
I'll give us the dates to get us going.
Yes.
And then maybe we could, after that, talk about what our maybe relationship to this material is, if any at all.
Yeah, if there was any going in, yeah.
Okay, so the Wild Party, which indeed was wild. Previews began at the Virginia Theater on March 10th, 2000. It opened on April 13th, 2000, and closed June 11th, 2000, after 36 previews and 68 performances.
Ooh, that's not great. Yeah.
Nice.
That's a lot.
I haven't had a run on Broadway for that long.
I know.
So
Frankly, right?
really,
say.
I'd be like, yeah, this is great. I was on Broadway for 60 days.
Yes, right?
I'm out here right now. We're doing Billy Elliot in Neptune Theater in Halifax. Long run in Halifax. We're doing like 64 shows, and I'm like, yes, great. That's awesome. That's so many shows.
That's
The thing,
that's
60
how
shows
many-
is like,
Yeah.
60 shows, that's all you get. I was like, that's 7 performance, like that's 7 runs of different
Absolutely,
shows.
it is. Yeah, in the Canadian theater system. Yep.
Oh gosh, too bad for them. I mean, also though, they're running $5 million.
This is exactly it.
Yes.
and losing
Yes.
money up the wazoo.
Oh,
so.
losing money
Yes.
like mad. So this premiered on Broadway in 2000.
Yeah. Welcome to the 21st century.
And
But let's go back.
yeah.
Let's take a time machine back to where, one might ask, to the poem.
to the sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
It's because it is
1928.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did some homework.
Good,
Okay?
yeah, you did.
I did some homework, and I'm going to use my notes.
Yes.
1928, a poem. Joseph Moncure March. I'm sure that's right.
That's it. That is exactly correct. Good work.
Yeah.
Who writes this poem when he's 26 years old.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Wow.
And he's a horny
And boy, is it
26-year-old.
ever-
Yeah.
Boy, is it ever
It's a horny
Okay,
play.
but-
It's a horny poem. Yeah.
I will say though, it's 19. So he wrote it in, I want to say 1926 or 25, and then
Yeah.
it wasn't published until 28. But like, imagine what was happening. Obviously, that would make a young adult feel all of those things and be able to
Yeah.
write them. Like, could you imagine? Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I hear it being described at that time, because, you know, I wasn't there.
Oh, were you not?
Being described, it's like we always associate, it's like, oh, roaring 20s, right? Like all this stuff, all this is debauchery. But then there's also, you know, it's prohibition as well. So it's like, in spite of all this, how strict things were, despite all of that, there's this underbelly of like, oh, we need to express ourselves through this debauchery and through these parties.
And things like the entertainment industry at the time, vaudeville,
yes,
are just running entirely unchecked.
Oh yeah,
like it's the Wild West. You can do whatever the fuck you want as long as people pay money to see it.
Yeah. And one of those things is blackface.
Yes, as it turns out.
So that's just a little primer for what we're going to talk about later on.
So there's this poem, and it's a huge scandalous poem.
Yeah, it gets banned in Boston.
Yeah. They don't want to hear it in Boston.
I don't know why, just Boston, but Boston's just like, no. I was going to do like a Bostonian accent, but then I realized at the moment I can't.
It's okay.
I can't do one.
It's okay.
So,
Park the car in the Harvard Yard. We don't want a wild party.
No poems.
No wild party.
We don't want
because
poems.
they were Catholics, right?
There we go.
It's the Catholics.
Oh, it's the Catholics.
Exactly.
It has to be.
They're not interested.
It would have to be.
I mean, good guess. Good guess. Probably. Probably Catholics. All right. So then the poem happens.
The poem happens, and we skip ahead to the late 90s?
Yes, we do. 1994.
Yeah.
Art Spiegelman, who is made famous for winning the Pulitzer for Mouse, which I think a lot of us read in high school.
Love Mouse.
Right? So about his
Just read it very recently, actually.
His father's experience with the Holocaust, that graphic novel. He stumbles across Wild Party, the poem, at a bookstore. And then he's talking to his good friend, William S. Burroughs, who goes, you know, Wild Party? Wild Party is what made me want to become a writer. And Arts goes, oh, yeah, I should probably make some money off of this. Okay, he doesn't say that. He says,
I'm pretty sure he said exactly that.
There's something to be had here. And he goes like, let's make a graphic novel. And that is popular. Yes. And that's how, it's not because, these two composers or these two theater companies just stumbled across this 1928 poem. No. It's because it got re-released in 94. And everybody's like, that's in the public domain? Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And with these images that are very striking, right? And I think that's probably what gets people really excited, going, oh, I can do something with this. I can't do anything with a poem, with rhyming. I don't know why. But anyway, now it's this big deal. They have all these iconic images to associate with that poem, therefore inspiring these two good composers. We'll see. Good composers.
Good composers.
I would argue they're both. If the question is just are Andrew Lippa and Michael John LaChiusa good composers, they absolutely are.
Yeah.
We got a lot more to talk about within that context.
So much to talk about. So, okay, this is a wonderful moment to ask you both whether you had a relationship to this material, whether it be the poem, the graphic novel, or either of the shows prior to this recording.
I had a bit of a relationship to this. I have a not insignificant relationship to Michael John LaChiusa as a composer. I really dig his See What I Want to See, which is a very bizarre piece. Yeah, absolutely.
I knew you would like that one.
And I kind of dig Little Fish, but I checked out this Wild Party a few times, and it had never super clicked for me. And honestly, I had checked out Lippa's Wild Party, and in my opinion, like song for song, Lippa's Wild Party is more listenable, for sure.
Agreed.
You agree?
I agree.
Yeah? Yeah. So I had before this, like I'd always kind of know like Michael John LaChiusa, I'm sure that's a coherent Wild Party. But if I was going to sit down to listen to a Wild Party or recommend a song from a Wild Party to someone, it was going to be from Lippa's. But I had absolutely not, most importantly, I definitely hadn't done a deep dive into the cultural context or the content of the show or anything like that beyond a very surface level up until doing this episode. What about you guys?
Way bigger relationship with Lippa's. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it felt like, I don't know, I don't want to say that this is exactly what got me into like bootlegs on YouTube, but I felt like a bunch of us musical theater nerds, we were like, oh, we can find these songs on, and it felt it felt kind of underground that we found Lipa's Wild Party, the off-Broadway one.
Yeah.
You know? Even though it was bigger than the other one. You go, oh, we found this thing. Oh, cool. And oh, it's Idina Menzel and it's Bright Eyes Jane.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then as any, you know, young, aspiring baritone and or tenor, you're going, I want to sing all the songs in Lipa's version. Oh, I'm going to use this in all my auditions.
Have you auditioned with What Is It About Her at some point?
No, because I'm scared of it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Oh, you'd sound great. You would sound incredible.
Thank you. I don't think so. But then I think, you know, when I started looking more into Lipa's version, I at the same time got the album for LaChiusa's because you had to be cool. You had to know both of those. Did I did I listen to LaChiusa's at all? No. No. Always Lipa's. But there was a production in Toronto like 2015 and I watched that. I watched and that was LaChiusa's version and I really enjoyed that production. So that was kind of my better intro into LaChiusa's. When I was like, you know, young musical theater nerd, it was Lipa all the way. I mean, I'm still a little Lipa all the way. But we'll talk about the reasons why later.
Yeah, yes. I can't wait.
But yeah, that's my relationship with this material.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about you, Johnson?
I have no relationship. No, I shouldn't say that. You know when you're like a dance teacher for 8 years and you have to come up with ideas for your like competitive students to do like their solos and duos, and so you look into every musical that's ever existed. That is how I came across LaChiusa's version, because a pair of my students did Best Friend, which is the Kate Queenie duet where they're sort of snide to one another.
Is that literally the only option in the show for a dance for like the kids could do as something?
Yeah, because it's like shady, but it's like you can play it off as like sassy and kind of funny and bitter, and it's hilarious when two 15-year-olds are like so jaded. Like to me, that's so funny.
And at least it's not overtly sexual or racist or misogynistic. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. So that's what, that was my LaChiusa way in. But I will say Lipa was more embedded in my brain because it does have more of a commercial sound. And so when you're in your 20s and you're exploring your vocal range, as Peter indicated, you're sort of like, oh, where do I fit? What is my vocal kind of styling? Plus, it's like the mid 2000s and you're like, oh, well, I only get 16 bars, so I better sing the end of
Life of the Party.
Whatever song.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's like, and then also Stephanie Sy skrelting it. You kind of go, oh, that's a good song. And again, like you, Paul, I didn't really have much context as far as the poem. I knew it was a poem, but I didn't know the story until this deep dive. So here we are.
This is a significant divergence off topic, but Daff, I would strongly encourage you to include this in. I played Life of the Party for Steph Sy at a Mayor's Luncheon Award. She'd been asked, like, it was the Mayor's Luncheon for the Arts in Winnipeg or whatever. And so Steph was asked to sing, and I played, and she chose Life of the Party. And so this comes right after Debbie Patterson. I'm not sure if you've ever ran into her when you're in Winnipeg, Peter. She's this incredible, she's been a guest on our show before. She's this incredible performer and director and producer and just like a fucking force for good in the world. And she was the keynote speaker, and she'd just given this big speech about how we need to essentially like tear down the patriarchy and capitalism, and really like an awesome speech to give at a mayor's luncheon where everyone's kind of feeling weird. And then immediately following that is this performance. And Life of the Party starts with, who needs money?
Yes!
And we started, and Deb's partner Arn is in the front row, and Steph sings the first line, who needs money? Not me. And Arn goes, ha! Right in the front row.
That's amazing.
So that's a song that's not from the show we're talking about today.
We're not going to be able to talk about LaChiusa's Wild Party without talking about Lipa's. Nobody did. Nobody. All the reviews, everybody who talked about LaChiusa's Wild Party talked about Lipa's, and everybody who talked about Lipa's talked about LaChiusa's. So we're just going to have to, we're just going to preface this whole thing. We're diving in both pools.
So, from what I understand, LaChiusa was in 98 or so, 97 or 98, he was in residence at the Public Theater.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And they were like, write us something. You're in residence. You're on commission. Write us something. And George C. Wolfe is the artistic director there at that time.
I believe you're right.
Like, yep, yeah. Great. And they're like, all right, let's do a let's do a wild party for exactly the reasons Peter just described. And so that's where that was developed and then taken to Broadway by the Public Theater, which was kind of scandalous from what I understand. Public Theater is typically like an off-Broadway development house, especially at that time. So the fact that they were taking a musical without even an off-Broadway production, taking it straight to Broadway and producing it on Broadway was very significant. And then at the same time, Lipa, who's been, according to him, writing his musical a bit longer, since like 95 or 96.
Something around there, just a year before-ish, yeah.
Premieres his adaptation of the same poem, same title, off-Broadway. Just so for the audience at home, so everyone has a very clear idea of the timeline. These shows are not only based on the same material, they're in New York at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, but I mean, when you're developing a new work, it sometimes can be super hush-hush in the beginning stages, right?
Yeah.
And because the poem was in the public domain, even though there's this graphic novel, this re-release of the poem, there's no estate having to go, wait a minute, we've sold the rights to somebody else, which is what would usually happen in a situation
we can't
like
adapt X, it's already attached to that.
Right? And so you have these two theater companies. So you have the Manhattan Theater Club and you have Public Theater. It's not like what you hear about on TV a lot where you go, oh, this TV network is producing this kind of show, this doctor type show. We're going to produce something as a competing station.
Yeah.
This could actually have happened. This did happen without knowledge. Yep. So a book got popular. It just happened to be in the public domain that they did not have to check in with anybody, right? They didn't have to check in.
Nobody's talking to each other.
Nobody's going to do this. We're on to something big here.
But that's 100%
no one else
what those meetings were. That's 100% what was going on at the table.
Yes. And like, how awful. How awful to find out you're already a few years in. You are workshops in. You are readings in. You are development.
Right.
You have
musicals
put
are hard
in
to write,
money.
man. Yeah,
you've put in money, and these are two companies that these aren't commercial theaters, right? These are off-Broadway theaters. They have a subscriber base. They, to my understanding, like they're using this money already.
Yep, absolutely.
And what? 3 years later, you're going to hear about another production and go, you know what? I'm going to stop mine.
Yeah.
I don't think
Shut
so.
it down. Cancel it. No.
I don't think so. Right? It's just so unfortunate because no matter what, that the other company, the other show is distracting from your show. No matter how you swing it. It just goes, oh. And it's not even as if the titles are different. They're both Wild Party that happening blocks away from each other.
Yeah.
So,
how many times do you think someone went to the wrong theater, like with their tickets for the other venue? Like, you know what I mean? Where it's like,
oh, those poor ushers are just have headaches every day.
With front of house managers for a theater company that have two different spots in Toronto, for completely different shows, and it happens all the time. So this must have happened like
constantly.
70% of the time.
Madness.
Well, it's this weird thing where it becomes, may the best Wild Party win. Yeah. And then neither of them win.
Yes.
Really.
Everybody loses.
Like a little bit, as far as now they're both regarded in whatever context they're regarded in, but at the time they were both pretty huge flops.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what other productions that may have happened at the same time of using the same intellectual property. Right, so here's what I found.
Like what?
There was money being raised for a production of Phantom just before
Maury
Phantom, absolutely.
Phantom. They were getting producers, and then the Andrew Lloyd Webber one word broke about that, and all the producers pulled out of Maury Eston's.
Gosh.
Another one that I found was, or it's not even the same. It's not even the same context. It's Peter Pan. There was a production of Peter Pan and Finding Neverland at the same time.
Oh, yes.
Sure, yeah.
On Broadway.
Yes, that's right.
Which is definitely still splitting the audience.
Still splitting the audience. Yeah, I can imagine. I can see that happening. And this is not splitting the audience whatsoever, but I just wanted to bring it up in this podcast. There are going to be 3 musicals on Broadway using Britney Spears songs.
That's right. Okay, so we have Once Upon a One More Time.
And Juliet and Moulin Rouge.
Oh, of course.
All have Britney Spears songs in it. Yeah.
Britney's having a good year. Look at that.
Look at that.
Thriving.
That's wild.
Bring Britney back to Broadway.
All right, let's synopsize the plot real quick. So we're going to try to just do a quick rundown of the plot in 5 minutes or less. Just give a rough bare bones so our listeners kind of know what we're talking about. That's really tough for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give like a 2-sentence elevator pitch for Wild Party that covers both LaChiusa and Lipa's Wild Party. And then I'll take like a rough pass through the 5 minutes. Y'all can help wherever you can, and then we'll have Wild Party.
I feel like it's both hard and also the 2-sentence will suffice.
Yeah, exactly.
For it.
All right, so
exactly right.
Put some time on the clock, and I've given some thought to this, so I think I can do this.
Ooh, okay.
Great. All right. I'm going to add 6 minutes on the clock to account for any lag, just because I am kind. All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
So, attend the tale of Queenie Todd.
I hate you.
I just came up with that one this morning.
Just kidding. That's amazing.
Okay, so Queenie is a blonde. Her age stood still. Queenie's our main character. She is a vaudeville performer who is seeing another vaudeville performer named Burrs. They decide to throw a big party. Among all the guests at that party is a man named Black. A love triangle forms. That love triangle culminates at the end of the party with Burrs killing Black.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler. That's a synopsis that covers both versions.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
From there, let's talk about the LaChiusa version, which is the version that we studied more and that we're going to be actually getting into today.
The LaChiusa version takes some more kind of vaudeville act kind of structure.
Totally.
By all accounts, like, there are several characters. There's not a lot of story in the poem.
Yeah. Yes.
And there are several characters that are introduced. And LaChiusa kind of dives into that aspect of it. It's not as linear. And so, yes, the story of Queenie and Burrs they top and tail the production, but then they're swift kind of focused on other characters in the show. Dolores being one of them, who's played by Eartha Kitt in this.
So good.
Dolores in this one, has a larger part than I think even the poem or Lipa's version has, and kind of represents an aging vaudeville performer.
Yes.
A quick rundown of some of the other guests that we meet in LaChiusa's version. We've got Nadine, who's a miner who wants to who like kind of admires Queenie and wants to be similar to Queenie. We've got Madeline, a professional stripper, professional lesbian who and her girlfriend Sally, who's addicted to drugs.
Professional lesbian? Like that's her job.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Never do it for free.
I was going to say.
Professional stripper, hobby lesbian,
Yeah.
I guess. Then who else do we got?
We have a boxer.
We got a boxer.
Yes.
We have a boxer. And the boxer's name is it Eddie?
I think you're...
gosh,
Eddie
yes.
and his wife May, I think.
And his wife May.
And his wife May,
We've got the Darmano brothers, who were kind of a weird, they're business partners? Are they brothers as well? But they're also lovers. So is there, so there's like, are they incestual? We've got a couple of producers, wannabe producers, Golden Goldberg.
Oh, yeah. Man.
And finally, we have Queenie's best friend, Kate.
Yes.
And she brings to the party, she brings her new boyfriend, Black. And so throughout kind of the party kind of escalates. People are drinking bathtub gin, doing a bunch of coke. Everyone's fighting. Burrs isn't getting along with anyone. He's saying and doing all sorts of reprehensible stuff, some of which we'll get into. Yeah.
The why they're having a party.
Yeah.
If I'm hoping that this is from the poem, is that what drew Queenie and Burr together was this kind of violence towards each other.
Exactly.
Right? And I mean, it's really troubling to talk about it right now, because it's even in the poem, you're like, why is this happening?
Absolutely.
How is this they're so horrible. Burrs is so horrible.
Awful.
But then it grows too much. It grows far too much, and like out of a disagreement and out of another fight, the idea for a party comes through.
Yeah.
And
great. Yeah, totally.
That's what they invite people over, and then that violence or that aching and longing is represented in all these other characters.
Yes.
Well said.
Right? And then, you know, they're expressing themselves through this party, through this debauchery, through violence towards each other, both physically and mentally, emotionally. And then you kind of see the morning after. Yeah. Like what has, how everybody has been affected, and kind of when the mask is kind of rubbed off everybody, and you kind of like the lights are turned on at the end of the night of the club or something. The lights are turned on.
The floor
You're like,
is sticky.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Right, and then tragedy, and I'm not going to spoil anything.
Because at the end of the party, no one goes home. It's not like it is like at the end of a club when the lights come on. Yeah, but no one goes home. They just keep on being reprehensible. We forgot to mention we have Jackie, who's a pansexual, bisexual, referred to as ambisextress in the play. Who
that is your time, my dude.
Oh, okay. We did so well.
All sorts of bad stuff after the party. Black and Queenie have been romantically involved, and Burr's really jealous. So at the very end of the play, I won't say what happens because it's a spoiler.
Yeah, we don't know what happens at the end. I stopped reading my research at the end, so that I don't spoil it for myself either.
Good work.
Because that's roughly it. It really doesn't move in a extremely narrative way. So thank you guys for helping me through that. That's kind of the rough shape of the Wild Party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we wanted to license it, Jill, if the three of us wanted to put on a production of the Wild Party tomorrow, and we went to the licensing website, what would they say?
So there is a synopsis on BroadwayMusicalHome.com. Which actually isn't far from the first synopsis you gave, Paul. The only difference is there is no spoiler.
Right.
So here we go.
Yeah. Because we don't want to know what happens at the end. Anybody could die, or nobody could die.
Yeah. When I'm licensing this show for my high school, I want to be surprised.
Oh,
okay,
can you imagine? The Wild Party high school version.
Okay.
I'm sure it's happened.
Everyone's drinking orange juice.
Wild Party Junior. I was going to say it's only Act 1 because that's the joke, but I think, doesn't this just run? Yeah. Like, is it just...
Wild Party Junior.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
the synopsis from BroadwayMusicalHome.com reads: Queenie and Burrs, a vaudevillian couple who are constantly quarreling, throw a party to end all parties, struggling to make the other jealous. So this is like the dynamic you were talking about, Peter. Mm-hmm. In the process, Queenie falls in love with Black, and things come to a head at the end of the night, forcing Queenie to move out. That does sound like a junior version. Move out.
Right? Like, that is a very sanitized version of the story.
It's
not wrong, but it's very understated for what actually happens.
I just feel like if you're selling this show and you heard that, somebody who are you sanitizing it for? If you're going to produce this show, you want it to be like gritty and hard, you know? Like, why? This makes it sound so quaint. Oh, there's some jealousy, and they threw a party.
And then Queenie got grumpy, so she had to move out.
Queenie has to move out.
I am so eager to talk about what this friggin' show actually is. So let's talk about the book, the music, and the lyrics.
Woo! Okay. Music by John LaChiusa, who Paul touched on, wrote See What I Want to See, Little Fish, and Bernarda Alba, which I think is probably his most produced piece.
Yeah.
I would guess. Because I've seen lyrics also by John LaChiusa, book by John LaChiusa and George C. Wolfe. So we all know George C. Wolfe is an amazing director and book writer. Jelly's Last Jam, Caroline or Change, Shuffle Along, which we haven't talked about yet, but we probably will.
Probably will.
Because I think it was 100 performances exactly.
Right.
Meets the criteria.
It does. Yeah, and then directed Angels in America, right? 94?
Ooh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
93?
93.
Hell yeah.
And then based on the poem by Joseph Moncure March, and then the music was orchestrated by Bruce Coughlin.
So where do we want to start?
Okay, George C. Wolfe.
George C. Wolfe, let's do it.
Yes.
Yep.
George C. Wolfe. Okay, so what happens in this adaptation, I find, is like, there is in the poem these small hints at race.
Yep.
And what is seen through the lens of the 1920s, right? There are small little touches of that, but I think this really brings it to the forefront.
Oh, yeah.
And not primarily, but in a big way, when you are introduced to Burr, he's doing a minstrel blackface number.
Yes.
Jarring.
Yep, his vaudeville show is a minstrel blackface number.
And it's the first,
Yes.
like you said, it's that first introduction, and like he busts through
Yeah.
the
Which,
curtain.
I mean, for an audience, I just go like, what?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
And he's going, like, it's a minstrel number. It's not,
It is not hinting at it,
It's not hinting at it.
Yeah.
No, the number is a minstrel number. And I go, okay. I can only imagine that they can do that with the historical context and with the sensitivity around that kind of performance aesthetic because of George C. Wolfe. Because George C. Wolfe is one of the book writers.
Yes.
I don't think, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, audience, John LaChiusa is out there being like, you know what? I want to write a minstrel number.
And I'll be really sensitive about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's
maybe he would, but I think it's good that there's a collaboration.
Yes.
Yeah, there's almost, if you're approaching this subject material, it's either do you not touch it at all, or do you try to really get into it and like explore some stuff about it?
It's not in the poem.
Right, yes.
Burrs is a clown.
Right.
Burrs is a clown in the poem.
Yeah.
And it can be, I was watching an interview with Art Spiegelman saying that, now looking back at the poem after the LaChiusa one came out, it's so clear that this is kind of what it can and should be.
Right.
It's a blackface number. But in the poem, he is a vaudeville clown, and that's his act.
It's not, and it's also, that's not in the Lipper production for that reason. Lipper production doesn't feature.
Yeah, and it's not in the Lipper production. The Lipper production, he is for lack of a better term, a whiteface clown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Like it's whiteface. So it kind of speaks to, and in that same interview with Art, it speaks to how these productions want to take what this poem did at the time and do the same thing for the late 90s, early 2000s, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So how do you push those themes how do you take that next step? Well, okay, we're going to bring race to the forefront. We're going to bring domestic violence to the forefront of this production. We are going to sexuality is a big part of the poem, but we're gonna put that, and we're gonna give space and time for it in the LaChiusa production of this. And really, because I think it's also Eddie, the boxer, who talks about being in a mixed race.
Yep.
Yes, that's
relationship
Totally.
as well. I think that's what was happening.
100%.
They're going, so why was this banned in Boston? Like, why? What is happening? What is making this thing so controversial for its time? And maybe that wouldn't make it so. Wouldn't speak to the extent that it would in the early 2000s. But here are the themes in it that we can kind of turn up that can hit an audience in the same way the poem met an audience in 1920s.
I think that.
That is what they're trying to do. They're going like, I want the audience to kind of feel a little taken aback by that. And you're going to see Mandy Patinkin come up the first time you see him on stage in blackface. I think you're going to have a response. You're going to have a response because that's before you don't preface it.
No.
Yes, that's
you don't preface it. You just see him. And then after, you're like, okay, what happened?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he's,
and you can hear the audience having exactly those thoughts.
Yeah.
Because any of those moments, and not to spoil anything, but toward the end of the play when Mandy Patinkin starts to apply the makeup again, you sort of go, you can hear or almost feel the change in energy with the audience watching. It's really remarkable that they've been able to structure it that way.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say about the book.
Do you think is it successful in these things it's trying to do? I think that's a really astute analysis, Peter. Do we think it's successful?
I don't, I didn't see it.
Yep, nope. This is
I
very
didn't
true.
see it. And that's hard. I think it's so hard the cost of that blackface is like big, right? It's big.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what point does it make. I guess it's not like it's not
Yep.
like you're for Burrs, right? Like it's not you're
No,
like, and
At no
of
point
two
in the
wild
show
parties,
is he the good guy.
Yeah, exactly. And of both wild parties, I think you sympathize more with Burrs in Lipa's. Like because the story is so focused on that relationship, there's a bit of time put on making you sympathize with them or fight for some sort of relationship there, even though they're still horrible people there. In this one, because of the fragmented storytelling, because of the focus, I think, being more on what it's saying about the time and putting these themes forward, there's less time put towards that relationship and feeling sympathy. So I think in that way, great, because you're also, the audience is supposed to feel uncomfortable at that moment. I think that it most likely succeeded in that. Toronto production, if I'm allowed to talk about it.
Yes,
Please do. Yeah.
We have a black performer playing Burrs, and we have a black Queenie. And I think that is very, very successful. Originally, it's Vanessa Williams, right? As
You're right.
Queenie.
That's
it's
exactly
Vanessa
right.
Williams is Queenie. And there's a quote that says, like, it's not to say that one production would be better, but it's interesting to explore that. And then, so in the Toronto production, what you're seeing on stage, at least my take from it, is you go, okay, you've got Queenie, who the entire show is putting on this type of mask, this kind of white, this blonde hair. What does that mean? Seeing that on a black body.
Yes.
And then you see Burrs doing blackface as a black man, which is a practice that existed. So
I read this as well.
Seeing those two side by side, and you're like, I think that's and maybe it's because time has elapsed since this production, but for a 2015 production, that is the next step. You have to kind of see it in that context, and that is how you kind of bring it to the forefront. So was it successful in the 2000s? I don't know, but it's very successful when you see two black bodies up there putting masks on themselves in different ways, and when that masking and that performance of oneself is so integral to the theme.
Yes. That's exactly
right.
It's
we
what
have
it
a
is.
Performance version of ourselves. Yeah, we have a performance version of ourselves when we're at a party, when we're at, and this is like that is a big part of this. The poem, and the musicals. It's what you perform in front of other people, and I think driving that forward with two black bodies on stage as leads, I go, there's more to mine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
We mentioned that this production doesn't give Burrs quite as much to do as the Andrew Lippa version, because it focuses a lot on the extended cast of characters. Real quick, what do we think of because we have these other stories moving throughout this as well that are supporting kind of that central thesis. Of the masks that we put on and kind of various uglinesses in human nature that kind of come out over the course of this party. It's all about these ugly sides that emerge in people.
I had a thought about this because I think it was the reason I was having so much trouble fully connecting to the piece as a whole was that I was struggling to connect with people when I was only seeing like such quick snapshots, and maybe I just wasn't like that focused. I don't know, but something was happening where I was like, who is that again? Like I was struggling in some moments to kind of remember who everyone was, what their relationship was to one another, and then so I don't know. Like, occasionally I felt really connected, like, maybe because I love Norm Lewis, so I was like, I love your performance as Eddie, so I'm, like, already with you, and I know who you are, and I'm connected to that, but there were other characters that I just didn't feel that with, and I don't know if that's the book or the structure of the play or what, but that was just my initial take on that.
I'll make an offer that will take us into music, because it lines up with a point that I wanted to make. So, music and lyrics, I like Michael John LaChiusa as a composer. He's a complex composer. His music is not easily accessible. It takes some thinking. It takes some brain power. I like all that. His music is often so cerebral that I have a hard time finding any kind of human connection in it. It's so, like, and it's, once again, I relate to it because I also, like, I like to look at music in this way. It's all kind of, it feels beautifully pieced together, a wonderful pastiche of that time period, of the music of that time period. But none of it ever seems to speak to the heart of the characters the way that a really good musical does. And I would argue that even Lipa's version does that better.
Right.
As far as actually representing the inner workings of these characters. So I wonder if and it's a piece that has so much music in it. Has a ton of music in it. I wonder if part of it is the music not allowing those characters to be represented to an extent that we really connect with, you know?
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about if we're going to compare Lipa and LaChiusa again. Please. It's like at least when reading the reviews and listening to the music, it seems like there is much more. We want to challenge the audience.
Yeah.
In LaChiusa's.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Right. So that is going to be reflected then in the music.
Right.
Yes.
I think. Right?
Yeah.
When you look at something that people were comparing to, this is Lipa's now, looking at that people were comparing to Cabaret and Chicago and those revivals, and their need to focus on the through line of the relationship. That is so that it seems as if it is to make sure the audience has a way in.
Right.
Yeah.
A little bit. Whereas I don't think that was primarily the top concern with LaChiusa's. That is just me speculating, but I just go, for everything that we're talking about, the structure of the book, the way that it is non-linear, the way that it focuses on all these other characters to kind of bring these other themes to the forefront and challenging the audience, I think that is reflected in the music. And so, I'm not humming all these tunes from LaChiusa's, but I don't think that was, I think that's in a way intentional.
Yeah.
Not that LaChiusa doesn't want us humming their songs. I just go, that wasn't their primary concern.
Right.
Whereas maybe Lipa was more, these are some bangers.
Oh, and that's totally...
These are some hits. Yeah. Everybody's going to be singing this.
Everyone's putting this in their audition book. Everybody. That's what he was thinking when he was writing it.
That's kind of Lipa's move as well, though. Like throughout his musicals is, and I say that without shade. I like Andrew Lipa a lot.
Yeah.
But like, always a couple songs that are like, all right, let's see these in auditions for the next 5 years.
Right.
You know?
Oh, I forgot because I said I was gonna bring up Charlie Brown in this.
Okay.
Yes, do it.
Yeah.
Bring it up.
So there was a little break in the development of Lipa's version. Why?
1999.
Because he was going to work on Your Good Man, Charlie Brown.
As like the music supervisor.
Boom.
He wrote a bunch of the new music and did all the orchestrations for,
So great.
or all the arranging for the new Charlie Brown revival. That's right.
Yes. There was a song, May,
Yep.
was originally, or was written for Kristen Chenoweth.
Oh.
That's wild.
There was like a workshop reading or something earlier on in the early development of Lipa's Wild Party, and Kristen Chenoweth was May. Wow. And I think was like the music was written for, or the song between May and Eddie, is it, in Lipa's version, was written for Kristen Chenoweth.
Fascinating.
Then she goes on to be in Lipa's
Charlie Brown.
Fun fact.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bam, bam, bam.
And that would have been Cheno and Adina together again for the first time.
Oh.
I guess so.
That would have been pre-Wicked.
Right.
That was a stack cast, I gotta say. I mean, listen, it was stack cast for LaChiusa's too.
Wow.
But
Yes.
Both of them are. It's wild, the cast. Here, we'll talk about that in a second.
I had one thought on the music and lyrics
Yeah.
because I do want to acknowledge the lyrics are actually pretty great.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just saying that because we're currently researching another show to record that has bad lyrics. So I feel like this, I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like I get it. It's poetry. But I will say what it does a really good job of is musically the unraveling of the evening. So starting with these nice, really pleasing, I might even say hummable. Like the first song is hummable, right? Queenie was a blonde, right? And so, but that's really the only one that gets stuck in my head. Yeah. And then everything else, there's this cacophonous sort of sound. The orchestration really lends itself to this brassiness. Yeah. And then you hear the unraveling of these people throughout the night. So I will say I'm super on board with that as far as setting the scene and the world. And that gets an A+ 100%. For me.
I really love as well. I love the way to build on that, Jill. I love the way that LaChiusa sets text to music, and the opening song is such a nice example of that. Just the way he sets vaudeville, so you can hear specifically, like it's a bold choice. It's a bold lyrical scan choice, and you just hear it becomes so clear that what we're saying, we're pronouncing vaudeville the old way. We're pronouncing it, we're in the vaudeville. You know what I mean? It's such a, maybe I'm getting hung up on it, but it's such a brilliant way to scan that lyric. And it's a lyric that's used by Lipa.
Yes.
They start the show the same way the poem starts. And Lipa does like a fine scan of it. And it's such a nice difference of like, Lipa, very good choice, nice song, scans well. But LaChiusa's is like bold. You hear that, you're like, whoa, what a choice. Hell yeah.
I think that kind of summarizes what people got out of both productions, though. Even though it, could we distill it to just vaudeville versus vaudeville? Maybe.
Like, yeah, right?
But I mean, to say like, okay, here's a bold choice. Here's a bold choice in the adaptation of this. I think it that summarizes what reviews said. Not necessarily my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep that mysterious. But that is what the reviewer said anyway. Though we should also point out in this other term of like masks and people, you know, presenting different versions of themselves. The poem is also for it being, you know, racist too, and like it's a very challenging poem that way.
Yeah.
There's anti-Semitism in it as well that is touched upon in, I can't remember, I'm sure it is in Lipa's, but also in LaChiusa's.
Yes.
You know, Gold and Goldberg.
Yeah.
Gold and Goldberg, one changing their names to be less Jewish, right? And again, it's this idea of having to hide behind something. So, you know, I thought that was worth bringing up. Just, these are the themes that are happening. This is what they need to bring to the forefront, or at least what it seemed like they were like, oh, we want to put this at the forefront of our production for the publics, for the Broadway LaChiusa version.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how that foundation that we've established for LaChiusa's Wild Party is executed by the direction, the choreo, the design, and the performances.
Ooh. Should we give a rating to the book, music, and lyrics before we do our direction?
There's a rating?
Oh, we use a very scientific
system.
And then it's distributed all over Canada so that every artistic director can know exactly what you think of.
What these two
artistic directors are
really care. They really care about what's said.
They're going like, you know what? I want to know these people's opinion on the Wild Party.
They really have a
show
finger
that I will
on the
never
program.
Yeah.
Out of 10 playbills, how many monkeys would we give the book, music, and lyrics of LaChiusa and George C. Wolfe's The Wild Party?
So, Paul, why don't you go first?
Yeah.
Because I do think you're right. We should do one rating because it was collaborative.
Makes sense to me. Yep.
In terms of those mainly LaChiusa and Wolfe.
I think I would give it a 7 out of 10. I think that while there's some stuff I'm really not on the same page on with as the show, there's no, especially after having this conversation, there's no question that this show was created with forethought and with intention by some artists who had the tools in their toolbox to do that. So yeah, well, a lot of it's not necessarily my cup of tea. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. How about you guys?
That's what I was going to say, a 7.
How about you, Peter?
Oh, no. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to try to separate myself from the bootleg that we didn't watch because that's not right?
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to try, I'm going to say 8.
Great. Okay.
Because and maybe it's because like expectation versus execution. Like I went into LaChiusa's Wild Party in Toronto going like, I don't know, I like Lipa's.
Yeah.
And then I think I watched it and I went, oh, this is awesome. Why didn't I know about this?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not humming any of the tunes, and I'm going to listen to Lipa's right after this.
Yeah, exactly. And probably won't turn on LaChiusa's for a while after this, if at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to say 8. Also because, what if LaChiusa's listening right now, and I would like to work with it. So
Fair enough. I would not.
I'm going to give you an 8 when everybody else gave you a 7, LaChiusa.
That's true.
And George C. Wolfe.
Yep.
I love me some George C. Wolfe. I love you forever, George C. Wolfe, so please.
Yeah.
We will have a chance to further discuss George C. Wolfe's wonderful contributions right now when we talk about direction and choreo. Directed by George C. Wolfe, Musical direction by Todd Ellison, and choreography by Joey McNeely. And then, of course, like I always say, 1,000,001 wonderful assistants and associates. So please visit ibdb.com to look at all of their names.
I mean, I like his work. I don't.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a lot easier to talk about contribution to book.
Yep.
I find, and like what the book did, especially since I've seen a production of it.
Right.
Outside of the Broadway production, right? So,
Can I ask what your take on the direction was in the Toronto production that you saw? And if you remember who actually directed that one?
I think it was Robert McQueen.
Yep.
Okay.
So if I remember correctly, I just remember feeling, and it's an intimate space. I'm working there right now. The Berkeley stage at Canadian Stage. So it's a very intimate space. And so it does feel like you are in the party.
Right.
Right? Like you are there. And I just remember feeling kind of that as the rush of each kind of scene swept by a little bit. You're kind of in this whirlwind of the party. So that's what I remember.
Yes. Okay.
So that when there were these kind of breakout moments where people were alone, because I remember there's Black and Queenie have like a duet that was really moving, because all of a sudden it's on this raised platform. There's a staircase in the theater, and they're up on this balcony, and you're like, oh, because we've been in on it, we've been in this kind of swirl of a party, these moments where you're separate from the party really stand out and really can affect an audience. So that's what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed, and it took me a while to notice that it was happening, but no one actually really looked at each other through the whole play. Okay? They were almost never looking right at each other. There was like maybe a handful of moments of eye contact between actors. And I thought as a choice that would make me uncomfortable, like in the right way, where it's like, oh, they're really not, they don't care about connecting with one another. And I think that was like a conscious decision from a direction perspective. And I actually think I liked it in hindsight. Like now having had time to think about it, because then when they look at each other, it's so meaningful. So I noticed that. And I thought that was really
because
cool.
it is presented as a series. Like it's presented as vaudeville sketches, right? Like there are title cards, there are, this is a performance for you. This story.
I almost wonder if, because they do the title cards on Broadway, but like not a ton. I wonder if leaning into that a little more might have just provided a bit more structure to latch onto in this really confusing story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just lean into it a bit more, into the sketch conceptual idea, abandon any need for like a really straightforward, for any kind of linear narrative.
Right.
And maybe that might have helped make the story just a little more comprehensible, I guess.
Right.
You know?
Right.
In terms of Broadway.
Do you think Martha from Ohio is sitting there for the first 20 minutes trying to figure out what the order of events is? Because that happens sometimes, right? When you're sitting in a play and you're like, wait, what's the story? Like, do you know what I mean? It takes you a minute to
I can't imagine Martha from Ohio enjoying this show, frankly.
I'm just telling you right now. We have audiences that come to shows. There always such a wide variety. You can have the most linear piece of theater happening and somebody's not going to understand it. We just can't help it.
That's
so
true.
People are going to look at this and go, I don't know. Didn't we already see this person? Didn't this person die or not die?
Oh, yeah.
Who knows?
You know what I mean? Who knows? Or like, what's happening now? So, I feel like that's going to happen for sure.
I have trouble assessing as well because there's so much music in this. I'm like, there's how much can I attribute to evaluating staging and how much of it slipped into the land of choreo. There's a lot of choreo in this show.
There is.
I'll go first. I like the choreo.
I knew you would.
I like 1920s jazz style. I think it's fun. I think it's energetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig it.
But it feels like Jill has something else to say.
Yeah, maybe Jill, maybe you do.
Because it wasn't it was like, oh, I like the, oh, yeah, you would like it.
You
would like that.
You would like the choreo. Now, coming from a choreographer, let me tell you something.
Exactly.
No, I thought it was really useful. It wasn't overdone. I thought, and again, similar to the way the music unraveled, I think the choreo did too. And I think that's really smart. And I always appreciate a choreographer who's attuned to the story and to like what's happening in the world. And of course, like it's impossible to not contemporize the movement because we just weren't there. So yeah, of course we have history of movement that we can pull from, but ultimately you do have to acknowledge like, oh, there will be like some contemporary flair to this movement. That's just like the nature of choreographing a 20s show in the year 2000. Mm-hmm. But I think it was really well done. No, I actually enjoyed it. I know it sounded like I had all these things to say.
Lies.
No, but I really did like it.
Jill doesn't want to get into a fight. Do it. This is the time.
I love fighting, but no.
This is the time. Disagree.
What about you? What about you, Peter? Do you like the choreo?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Oh, come on now.
I was into it. Maybe because I'm just kind of into that style a little bit.
Yes.
Like me too. Yeah, absolutely.
There's something. Yeah, there's something about it. I want to do it too.
Yes. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that's my hot take.
Let's do some ratings if no one has anything else then.
10 monkeys out of 10 playbills.
Yeah, there we go. I was going to say let's do them together. Peter says 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
I'd say once again it's hard to assess, but
hard.
I'd give it like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of a 10 based on the information I've got.
I feel closer to the 9 or 9.5.
Yeah. Let's do a few sentences on the design. Design's also very hard to evaluate in this context.
Oh my gosh, because the lighting in it, like I just can't see anything.
It's because it's a VHS tape and someone's like holding this camera and like zooming in and out. Oh, it's brilliant. Let me list out our design credits and then
yes, please.
And then we can talk about it briefly. Scenic design by Robin Wagner. Costume design by Tony Leslie James. Lighting design by Jules Fisher and Peggy Eisenhower. Moving light programmer was Richard Tyndall. Sound design by Tony Mayola. And hair design by Jeffrey Frank. Those are our core design team. And then, as mentioned, associates, assistants galore. Please check them out.
The easiest thing for me to evaluate or give an opinion on are the costumes because we can look at production stills and get a pretty good idea. Mm-hmm. Costumes fucking rule.
I liked them a lot.
I think they look great. Yeah. Love really?
No, I'm just kidding.
You just wanted to be contrarian.
I just want to be contrarian, you know? We got to sell tickets to this podcast. We got to have arguments.
True, we do. It does need to be more dramatic. You're right. Ben Brantley of the New York Times did not like the costumes.
And I agree with everything he says.
He kept referring to Lipa's Wild Party as Wild Party 1 and this one as Wild Party 2.
Oh, that's so shady.
Oh, that is
funny.
So
Isn't that shady?
And I'm here for it.
Yeah, so
that's
1 and 2.
Awful.
So yeah, he really didn't like the costumes, which I thought was interesting because that was the first thing I noticed as being like, oh, I love the textures and the colors.
100%.
Like they were very rich and yeah. Anyway.
Why didn't he like them?
I think he thought they were oversimplified in the sense that, like, it was just all underwear. Because at a certain point, like, they're all mostly in underwear.
It's about an orgy,
slips.
absolutely.
Because it's an orgy.
Yeah. So he was
Did
like...
he want them to wear clothes at an orgy?
No, we should ask. Let's call him. Like 23 years ago, you wrote a review, and I just want you to tell us what you
Go on
meant.
record. Yeah. At your orgies, everybody's dressed. Okay, great. I just wanted that out in the open.
Note to self, never go to an orgy with Ben Brantley.
Yes, it would be boring. Okay, so yes, we agree that we like the costumes.
No, I wanted there to be more clothes on people.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Especially
based on
after
nothing
the
else.
orgy.
Yeah, especially during that. I just want everybody to wear all the clothes and coats.
Yes. Coats.
My name
Only
is
coats.
Brent Bradley of the New York Times. 0 monkeys out of 10 playbills.
I'm going to start calling him Brent Bradley from now on.
Brent Bradley.
Oh, God. Okay, so the lighting, we couldn't really get a very good idea of because, of course, it was captured by the camcorder. But I will say I felt like there was some starkness to the lighting later in the play that that coincided with what Peter's been talking about, which is the mask kind of coming off. So I think there was at least some conscious design in that regard. So I like that. That's good.
I agree with the Tony Committee in that it got nominated.
Yeah, so there you go.
I'm going to take just the passive least resistance on this one. Okay, Tony Committee said it was good. I can't judge it on this video. It's very hard. 6 out of 10.
Yeah, like a little bit. I'm not even sure if there's any reason to do a rating on this one other than to acknowledge it and say good work. But I'm not sure I have enough information to be able to give any kind of opinion on it other than great work, craftspeople in Broadway. I'm sure you worked your asses off.
Yes.
It probably looked great, frankly. I'd like to propose let's move on to talking about the performances, because there's a few things to say. Okay, performances.
Mandy Patinkin should just exclusively do things in blackface.
Yeah, forever. Always.
Hot take.
Always and forever.
Hot take.
So, from what I understand, doing some reading, and this is an industry term that we'll bring the audience into. Apparently, Mandy Patinkin was a real shithead on this production.
Oh.
You guys didn't find this? Oh, he was awful. So he was all over the place during runs of the show, in previews or in dress rehearsals or whatever, going over the top, adding like hits and physical contact, and at one point spitting on another performer.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Terrible to Toni Collette by all accounts.
Mandy, no.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but by all accounts.
No, I'm just like, how dare you be a dick to international treasure Toni goddamn Collette. I will see you in the street, Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah.
Were you in Hereditary?
No.
Were you in Knives Out? No, you were not.
Or Sixth Sense?
Leave Toni Collette alone.
I mean, come on.
No, not in Sixth Sense.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I got. I just wanted to defend Toni Collette.
In her Broadway debut, no less.
Right after winning or being nominated for an Oscar?
Nominated, I think.
Nominated for Sixth Sense, right?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely,
Yeah.
which she's great in. Okay, so having said that, let's start with Toni Collette then, because here we are. Toni Collette plays Queenie, and she fucking rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's great.
Absolutely. Really good. Toni Collette's a sick singer. Who knew?
I know.
Because she doesn't do this. Has she done Broadway since this? Literally this and a tiny engagement in The Realistic Joneses, which I don't know. I don't know what that is in 2014.
But it's a play, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
She's great. And she's never done it again. She's great. And has star power. She could get attached to something right now and be a draw. She could take your pick of whatever revival of a great role you want to do. They'll put you in it, you know?
Now that makes me wonder, hearing about Mandy Patinkin being the way he was in the room, and then that being her first experience, not to overdo it on the speculation, but if it's not a positive process, I can't imagine wanting to repeat it.
There are some accounts that speak to exactly that. That was a nightmare. Mandy Patinkin was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Maybe Broadway's not for me, kind of thing. Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it's a money thing too, right? Because we all know, the film dollar just goes further
than Broadway does at any point, frankly. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it just goes a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Now when you're talking about Mandy, we're just going to go with Mandy. Because, we're on a first name basis. That's so upsetting.
Yeah. Especially because it's kind of a nice performance.
Yeah, because it's good, but
yeah.
Now I hate it.
Yeah, I know it's a tough thing, right? We can acknowledge it is a tour de force performance. Yeah. You certainly buy it. Yeah, there's a lot of intensity.
There's intensity, and I wonder then if that. I don't know if he's one of those actors. He doesn't seem like it in social media stuff that he's doing. That he seems like one of those actors who just goes all in. You know,
right?
He's not Jeremy Stronging.
Oh yeah. Oh god.
Yeah, he's not doing that. But if this is what we're hearing about this process, and then what is asked of in the show of this character, I go, is that did he get all method?
Is that
in
what
this?
he was doing?
In which case, because
a little bit, right? There's
like that.
There's no excuse,
but he does do good. He does do good work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I need to just say again, Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt rules in this. I want to talk a lot about her.
So she came back. This is her first show after 20 years not doing anything on Broadway. And her performance is so level. I was like, you are the narrator to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so on board with having her as our sort of audience connection. Yep. She was just so, I'm just such a fan.
I agree. I'm going to put then... This is not how you rank anybody, but I'm going to go Eartha Kitt, Toni Collette, and then Mandy Patinkin down here. Nobody can see me, but it's low now. It would have been if you were just nice.
Just be cool. Nice. Just be a bad guy in the show.
These are just allegations. These are just allegations.
These are just allegations. Absolutely.
These are just allegations.
True.
I always love a Norm Lewis.
Oh.
Norm Lewis turns it out left and right, and he's awesome in this. Just a star.
I love Norm Lewis so much.
Oh yeah.
So much. So I'm very biased because he's just my favorite. So I can't remove that from me.
I feel the exact.
Maybe he did a horrible job, but I don't know because I'm just there going, Norm Lewis.
One of the best voices in Broadway history.
Easily.
Just an absurd voice. One of my favorite voices in Broadway history.
He can sing 4 phrases in a row without breathing. It's
incredible. Got this like velvety fluid sound that just goes.
10 out of 10. 11. 11 monkeys out of 10.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yancey Arias plays Black. Thought he did a nice job. I thought him and Toni Collette had some sizzling chemistry. Even when you just hear him singing, it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of sexy. I dig this. This is a cool piece for a cast because you have so many characters and you can get everyone both doing their character party piece, but also there's some serious shit to get into with all of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can imagine this is a hell of a fun show to be one of the supporting characters in.
I feel like it gets produced by universities and colleges in the States a lot.
I think you're right.
That's what I think. Yeah, because it's also like, kids those young theater kids, they want to get gritty.
Yeah, they want to dig.
They want to do this cool thing.
Explore some stuff.
Dig, into hard music.
Yeah.
Yep.
Into hard music, into
tough content.
Challenging, content. And then there's a lot of parts.
Yes.
Exactly.
The other person I want to shout out is
please.
Nathan Lee Graham and Michael McElroy, but I wanted to shout out Nathan Lee Graham because I just love everything that they do. They were in Priscilla as well, I think. And Zoolander, of course.
Who are they in Zoolander?
Like the assistant, Mugatu's assistant, that's always holding the dog
so fucking funny.
Gets the latte thrown on them.
Oh, I'm a huge fan. I dig that. Yeah.
Big
Absolutely.
fan. So yeah. And they were so charismatic.
But wait, we were missing a Kate.
Oh, we're going to get to
Tanya Pinkins.
Oh.
Tanya Pinkins. Absolutely.
Of Caroline or Change fame.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, she's also so level. Like her performance is so beautifully tempered. Yeah. Chef's kiss.
Well, maybe are we just comparing it because Mandy goes so hard?
Maybe.
Yeah, I know, right?
Is that what it is?
But so does Toni. Toni goes hard, and the other supporting characters also go pretty hard.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not just comparing. Yeah. They are giving level performances. Yeah. Because everybody else is just going we're wilding out.
Yeah. You almost wonder with Tanya Pinkins. I'm glad you brought her up because you wonder if she does this with George C. Wolfe and they're like, oh shit, Caroline or Change. You know what I mean? Which is right a few years after this.
Yeah.
They're like that's one of their takeaways from whatever this experience was, which was up and down, I have to assume, is oh shit.
But they had worked on, I think, wait, when was Jelly's last jam?
Oh, that's right. And that's before this. It absolutely
is. Was that late 80s?
No, it's early 90s.
And
early 90s?
Yeah, that's right.
She won a Tony. Did she win a Tony? Or
yeah, she did.
She won a Tony for Jelly's last jam.
Absolutely right.
And that's when they were together. So it was just and then George C. Wolfe, George C. Wolfe, put me on your radar.
Yes.
They build that relationship. And it goes, puts her in everything. So
yeah,
I can be on your radar too, George.
So she's a known commodity. Is it possible the main reason for her not doing Queenie is because they wanted a name in that track?
Well, no, but they originally it was Vanessa Williams.
So I'm saying so then Vanessa Williams is out.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they've got a really skilled Broadway performer in the cast who is a goddamn star already. But they're
right.
No, we need a bit of stunt casting to make Wild Party play.
Interesting.
Very wild speculation. I'm speculation all over the top. But this is what I'm saying, right?
That is wild speculation. She had just won a Tony. Well, okay, not just won a Tony.
It's cool to have her in the cast.
Oh,
and she fucking crushes it.
Stacked casts. Yo. Stacked casts in both of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
Totally.
So 12 out of 10? Is that what we decided?
12 out of 10.
Frankly, I'd go 9 out of 10, taking one off for rumors of reprehensible behavior from Mandy Patinkin, which I'm not a fan of.
Right.
But holy shit, this cast goes, and that's the only way the piece works. I didn't see the Toronto production. I know a bunch of people in it, obviously. from what I understand, they all fucking went hard, and it really played.
Yeah.
Do you want to play the Tony game?
I would love to.
Me too. What's the Tony game?
So this is the 2000 Tony Award.
It's a game we made up that is not even a game.
No.
Because, well, okay, specifically for this Tony year. So welcome to the 54th Annual Tony Awards.
Okay, great.
June 4th, 2000.
Yeah.
Hosted by, and then this
In
is where you guess
2000.
who it would be hosted by. It's the year 2000. Think about who might have hosted.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is a great game. This is wonderful. And it's hosted by, because just odds-wise, I think this is the Billy Crystal.
Oh, that was, no, good guess though.
Frankly,
Kinda.
playing the odds. Yeah.
Kind of like Billy Crystal.
I'm just playing the numbers,
You're-
okay?
Not something I would
Must
want
be.
to see, but definitely an option.
2000?
Okay, I'll give you another hint. This person.
Hugh Jackman?
No.
I was going to say what we've found, one of my educated guess playing the odds is, at this time, the Tony version of Billy Crystal is Angela Lansbury. Like they would
It's
just
not Angela.
no,
but
like that's the who she hosts every few years.
She hosted a lot, like through
Yeah.
the 80s too. She hosted a
Yeah.
lot. So this person had a talk show that featured a lot of Broadway performances.
Rosie O'Donnell.
Bingo.
Rosie O'Donnell. Great.
Oh!
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. So it really checks
Yes,
out
of
when,
course.
when
Yeah.
when you figure it out. So
So Rosie O'Donnell's hosting.
there were 4 nominees for Best Musical.
Mm-hmm.
I knew one other one of them.
Oh, no.
One of them's this.
One of them is this, yeah.
This is two.
There was only
2000.
one other that I knew, and honestly, I'll be shocked. Like, I don't even know if I could give you hints about these shows. The only one I could give you a hint about would be the other one that I knew.
When I think of this time period, I'm more thinking of the musicals that were about to come out to Broadway and then got stalled by 9/11.
Right.
Like that's this period of history. That's what's interesting to me. But
Yeah.
what was just out?
This is the 2000. This is the 2000.
Yeah, so the
2000 theater
season
season.
that
Yeah.
it would have accounted for would be from end of April or early May 1999 until April of 2000. So that's the season that it encapsulates.
Is the producers too late?
It's
Producers
coming.
right around there. Yeah.
2002, I think, or 3.
Oh.
Oh no, it might be
yeah.
2001. But yeah, it's coming. So you're
So not quite.
I'm okay. I'm in the world. I'm in the
okay,
world of
but
producers.
you're in
okay.
the creative team. So Susan Stroman did producers.
Mm-hmm.
She had another show around this time, and that is one of the nominees. And I don't know that anyone will know.
Oh my gosh, I have no idea.
Is the other well-known one Footloose?
No, that was 2002, I think.
Fuck, was it actually?
Okay, we are just too far
Yeah,
forward.
I'm
We're
too far
forward.
I'm just gonna list them because
Yeah, let's do it.
You will never guess. So the other one was Contact, which is the dance show, the Susan Stroman dance show.
Totally.
Oh.
So that was that one. The other one was Swing! Exclamation mark.
Okay.
Right.
And then the
don't
fourth
know.
was James Joyce's The Dead.
Was a musical?
Yes.
I've done a play version of that.
But
Like
not
a
the
workshop
musical.
version of The Dead.
I could not tell you a single thing about it. I could not even begin to guess who wrote it.
What a wild year.
That's a wild.
I can't tell you a single thing about any of these musicals,
Right?
really, except for the fact that Lippa's Wild Party
Yeah.
existed, so I know LaChiusa's.
Did Contact take Best Musical?
It did.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, that's
Had to.
wild.
It had to have.
Over this?
Over this. Yep. So 3 of our actors were nominated.
Okay.
Do you know who they would have been?
Tony Collette, Mandy Patinkin,
Yeah.
and a third.
Yeah.
Tanya Pinkins?
No.
Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt, it's gotta be. Yeah, yeah.
So those are our 3.
And Eartha Kitt performs at the Tonys.
Yes, that's right.
You can tell it's an incredible video. It's an incredible performance.
They all lost, unfortunately.
Oh, do we have to say to who? I don't even know these musicals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, who else is in play?
So the thing that I find interesting, Mandy Patinkin lost to Brian Stokes Mitchell, of course, because we love.
Brian Stokes Mitch. Oh,
We
top
love.
notch. Great win.
Absolutely. Great win.
So
Solid
wait.
win.
Okay, what was he in at that time?
He was in a revival.
Kiss Me Kate.
You got it.
Yeah.
Good for
Very
you.
much.
Yeah. So he was in that and won for it, rightfully so. And then Tony Collette lost to Heather Headley, who was doing a show that surprisingly wasn't nominated for Best Musical.
I have no idea.
Elton John, Tim Rice,
Oh, fucking Aida.
Aida.
Yeah. That's so fascinating.
That wasn't nominated for Best Music.
That's remarkable.
We got Swing.
Like, Ida's not incredible. Ida's got problems. It's not, but like, wow.
Oh, yeah. But to not even be nominated, like, it's actually quite surprising.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then Eartha Kitt lost to Karen Ziemba in Contact.
Oh, sure.
So there we go.
It's like, it's a year where there's a lot of stuff being set up.
Yes.
And then some of it happens and some of it doesn't because 9/11 and everything changes. But like, Susan Stroman is just getting positioned to begin like her era.
Yep. The other thing worth noting is that ultimately Wild Party was nominated for 7 Tonys. Some design stuff, lighting design, book, score. So Aida takes score, which is good because then we're like, oh, at least you get your due in terms of like
Totally.
what was good about the show.
It's also wild to give Aida best score over this. That's a wild thing to do in my opinion. And I like Elton John.
So does Broadway.
Yeah,
like,
right?
Broadway
That's
loves
true.
Elton
That's
John.
true. Yeah. And
So-
You know, what are the Tonys? They're just a collection
I know.
of people. You know, like it doesn't, you know,
is what it is.
who knows what they're thinking, you know?
So yeah, seven total Tony noms and no wins.
I was just about to say, you're gonna say seven total Tony noms. I was like, that ain't nothing. And then you go, no wins. Well, I guess it is.
I guess it is nothing. Because I think they posted closing like that week, right? Because they closed June, 13th? 11th. So it was a week after the Tony Awards that they closed, which is actually kind of depressing when you name it.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
Oh, it's hard. It's hard to put up a show. It's
hard to run a show.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money to put that up, and it takes a very long time to recoup.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Oof.
yeah, I get it.
Final thoughts on the Wild Party, y'all. Here we are at the end of the road,
Oh my goodness.
right? There you go. That's how you do an episode of Monkeys and Playbills, Peter.
Whoa!
Yeah,
We're at the end
And
already.
it just goes to the end.
I think it's cool. I think it's super cool that this happened.
Yeah.
That I am right now in the thick of a year of new Canadian work that is both musical and non-musical, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I just think, oh, whoa, what a story that 2 companies decided to use the same source material.
Yeah.
And it just makes me go, what would this be? I know that we're specifically looking at LaChiusa, but I go, what would this be in the hands of somebody over here? Like, if we had found that poem, like, what would that kind of look like?
Yes.
So I just think it's exciting that, like, it must have been really exciting at the time to just go, how are they going to do this? Because at the end of the day, around the same time period, it's like 3 adaptations that had come out. It was the graphic novel, which introduced everybody, reintroduced everybody to it, and then these 2 productions happening. I think it would have been really exciting. I just love the idea that not only is it like, oh, I'm excited about this new work, is that we actually get to see 2 very different interpretations of the same story, which we never get to see, especially since with these long-running Broadway shows, you don't even get to see a reinterpretation of a show, right? Like, have we seen a different version of Phantom? No.
We're
you
about
know,
to,
what would that
though.
look like?
Maybe.
We're about to.
Yeah.
I bring that up because we're about to. But I go, that's exciting. That's exciting that we get to actually see at the same time 2 different interpretations across the street.
I absolutely agree.
Okay, they're not exactly across the street, but that's. Yeah, I'm in a new work kind of mode.
I love that.
Right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool.
I'm right there with you, Peter. And the only thing I would add is not just 2 new adaptations of the same work, but of a cool work. Like, this isn't, we're not adapting Back to the Future. No shade, love Back to the Future. You know what I mean? But, like, we're talking a 1920s epic poem. 2 composers who were exciting at the start of their career. I think it must have been such an exciting time.
I would think.
Two of the potential successors to Jason Robert Brown, and the contemporary thing is just starting to happen. 2 people who seem like they're going to be major voices in it, and who both go on to be major voices. Lippa even more so somehow. You know, it would have been a very exciting time to be in New York. I think. Yeah.
We have 2 more things we need to ask before we go. The first thing is, should this be a musical?
Yeah.
Totally.
If Cats can be a musical.
Right?
Oh, God.
anything could be a musical.
Yeah.
Why not? Sure.
Our next episode is going to be us unpacking the fact that Cats and Wild Party, this specific version of Wild Party, are not dissimilar from one another.
I was just going to say
because
this.
there is no linear story. It's pastiche, and we're going to unpack that next time. No, I'm just kidding. But that would be amazing.
There is something funny in brave adaptations of works of literature from the 19th and 20th century. I love a musical that's non-linear, that uses the narrative structure differently, and especially adapts something that has a different narrative structure. I think that's cool. I think that's using musical theater as a genre to its best, to its fullest potential.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Wait, I'm pretty sure that I heard an interview during the research of this, like going, I wanted to do something like Cats, but then I realized it wouldn't work like this. So
yeah, sure.
I had to go more linear. I don't know which Wild Party they were talking about.
But both, frankly, yeah.
Oh my god. The last question is LaChiusa's Wild Party a flop, a bop, or do we need to make it stop?
Oh, I think it's a bop.
Yeah, I think it might be a bop.
Maybe not this production of it, maybe, but it gets produced, and there must be a reason behind it. Let's take a weird thing and make a musical out of it.
Big
I'm so pro that right now. I love that idea, and so I go bop.
I agree completely, Peter. Like, love it or hate it, there's thought here, there's work here. This is not an ignorant work, you know what I mean? It's like there's a lot to unpack, and you have to do it. You better be sure you're doing it smart, and you've got the right people on your team when you're producing it to really navigate it, like you said, Peter, in a way that actually tackles the issues of the show rather than just paying lip service to them. But I think when that's done right, absolutely, the show's a bop.
Yeah, I agree. This specific production obviously wasn't the bop that they hoped it would be at the time, but I think it has legs, as we see. So, yeah. Good job, Wild Party.
Peter, is there anything you want to plug as I take us out? Anything you want to give a shout out to that you're doing?
I'm currently in a new Canadian musical called Kelly v. Kelly that is happening in the same venue as where I saw LaChiusa's Wild Party with the same company that's producing. Yeah, musical stage company, Kelly v. Kelly. And it takes place in 1915. And
amazing.
So, hey, listen, it's kind of in the same area, and it's really great. The music's fantastic. The book's great. We have a great group of people involved. Really cool people there. Come and watch that. I worked on a show on Broadway called Fat Ham.
Yeah, you did.
Love that show. I worked on it very little, just behind the scenes as assistant to illusions design, and I think the show is very, very special, and I want to bring it to Toronto, so go watch it while it's on Broadway. It's a very limited run, and I think it just got extended today. So if you can go out and watch it, go watch it.
Shall I take us out, Jill?
Take us out.
We'd like to thank the Canada Council for the Arts and the Crescent Arts Centre for supporting this season of Monkeys and Playbills. We'd like to thank Peter Fernandes for being just the model of a guest and being...
Don't tell our previous guests.
Just a model, period.
Peter, you're one of the best. Whenever our paths cross, I'm just over the moon. I'm always excited to see you doing things, dude.
No, y'all are the best. Let's hope we can meet in person soon.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. Yeah. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Send us email messages telling us how much you loved the show or hated the show. We can talk about that as well. Thank you very much, everyone. Please have a wonderful summer.
And stay tuned, because we have a very special final episode of this season of Monkeys and Playbills where we're going to discuss, unpack Bad Cinderella.
And we have with Nelson Betancourt, who saw the original production in the UK. So stay tuned for what's sure to be a very special, very loopy last episode of the season of Monkeys and Playbills.
Yes.
Incredible.
Hi everyone, this is producer Daphne speaking. Thank you all so much for listening to Monkeys and Playbills, the show where we take a look at Broadway musicals that had 100 performances or fewer before closing. To learn more about the show, you can follow us on Instagram at monkeysandplaybillspod or email us at monkeysandplaybillspod@gmail.com. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/monkeysandplaybills. Monkeys and Playbills is proud to be a Village Conservatory for Music Theater podcast. Original music for the show is provided by Paul DeGurse, and the show is produced and edited by Daphne Finlayson. We wanted to give a special thank you to the Canada Council for the Arts for supporting this season of Monkeys and Playbills. We also want to thank our producing partners, the Crescent Arts Centre, for their support. To learn more about the different podcasts in the Village Conservatory family, visit villageconservatory.com or look up the Village Conservatory channel in Apple Podcasts.